Have you ever noticed how the more you run after something, the harder it becomes to reach? Whether it is love, peace, or success, it often behaves like a delicate butterfly. The faster you chase it, the further it flies away. Yet when you stop moving and simply remain still, it sometimes comes to rest near you. In this reflection, I want to share 10 Buddhist insights that deeply shifted the way I look at life. Because when we stop this endless search, life has a way of offering us what we were looking for, but in a form we never expected. Obsessive desire breeds suffering. At the heart of Buddhist teaching lies a simple but uncomfortable truth. Craving brings pain. This is not about natural wishes, the gentle aspirations that give direction to our lives. It refers to that heavy restlessness inside that convinces you that something is always missing. When you are consumed by obsessive wanting, your mind pulls you into the future, making you feel incomplete, never good enough, never satisfied with what is already here. The issue is not the wish itself, but the inability to feel whole without it. Desire then turns into a flame that keeps burning. The more you feed it with expectations, comparisons, or daydreams, the more it consumes your inner peace and takes you further from yourself. Think of those times when you thought, "Once I get this, then I will finally be happy." But once you had it, the joy quickly faded, and you started chasing the next thing. Buddhism invites us to simply observe this cycle with kindness. Not to blame ourselves, but to recognize the suffering that comes from living in a constant state of waiting. When you crave with anxiety, you become blind to what is already present, deaf to what you already are, and the present moment slips through your fingers. To stop searching does not mean abandoning every wish. It means no longer being enslaved by them. A restless mind hides the truth. Picture a quiet lake under the night sky, the moon shining brightly above. If the surface of the water is disturbed, the reflection of the moon becomes distorted, broken, unclear. It may look as though the moon has vanished, even though it has been there all along. This is what happens when the mind is agitated by constant seeking and forcing. The more you try to grasp clarity, the more it escapes. Buddhism teaches that truth appears naturally when the mind grows still. It does not need to be seized, it does not need to be chased, it simply shows itself when the waters of the mind are calm. Inner peace is not something you conquer through struggle. It is something you allow by becoming silent. And here lies the paradox. When you finally stop demanding answers, the answers begin to arrive quietly on their own. Clarity is never forced. It is permitted. So when you feel lost or impatient, ask yourself, am I seeing with calm eyes, or am I shaking the water? Take a moment, breathe, allow things to settle. And then you might realize that what you were seeking has been right here all along. Letting go changes everything. To let go is not to give up. It is to trust. These two words sound simple, yet they frighten many people, because in our minds, letting go often feels like losing, like surrendering, like renouncing something important. In Buddhist thought, however, it is the opposite. Letting go is a sign of strength. It is an act of faith in life. It is the ability to say, I do not need to hold on tightly to feel secure. Think of the times you have clung to a relationship, a result, or a fixed belief. Usually, it is fear that drives that attachment. Fear that without it, you will not be complete. But the effect is often the opposite. You become more anxious, more fragile, more exhausted. Letting go does not mean being indifferent. It means ceasing the battle with what cannot be controlled. It means making space inside, creating a fertile emptiness where life can flow more freely. Sometimes the very moment you stop running after something, that very thing finds its way to you naturally, not because you abandoned it, but because you opened the space for it to come without struggle or anxiety. Trusting life is never simple, but it is far lighter than trying to hold everything under control. What truly belongs to you does not need to be forced. And when you release your grip, your body begins to relax. Your breath softens. Your heart becomes more open. The change happens first inside. You can begin with small things, maybe a repetitive thought, an expectation, or the constant urge to be right. Notice it and tell yourself, I do not need this in order to be at peace. Because letting go is not about losing, it is about rediscovering yourself. There is more calm within you than you realize. Have you ever felt completely full, but not in the pleasant sense of the word? Full of thoughts, of duties, of worries, so crowded inside that there is no space left to breathe. Buddhism reminds us that when our inner world is packed with attachments, there is no room for life to flow naturally. It is like walking with a backpack stuffed beyond measure. After a while, you can hardly keep moving forward, and the weight you are carrying is often not even real. Many of those things are memories you no longer need, fears that no longer serve you, desires that are not even yours anymore, and yet you refuse to put them down. Every time you release even one of those burdens, whether it is an idea, an old expectation, or a belief you no longer need, something in you softens and expands. Space inside translates into clarity, into freedom to respond differently to what life presents. To be empty, in the higher sense, does not mean to be without dreams. It means you are not chained to them in order to feel whole. It means discovering a peace that rises not from outside circumstances, but from an inner openness that is always available. Creating space also means releasing the need to immediately understand the meaning of everything. Some truths ripen in silence. Some clarity comes only after you let go of control. Ask yourself today, what am I still holding that I could set down to feel lighter? And then listen without pressure, without rushing. Listen and make space, because emptiness is not absence, it is an open doorway. Learn to receive, stop forcing everything. Instead of becoming obsessed, become receptive. When you want something with excessive intensity, you are not truly inviting it into your life. You are chasing it. And the act of chasing changes your energy. It becomes rigid, impatient, strained, like trying to squeeze water in your hands while it slips through your fingers. Buddhist wisdom shows that an obsessive mind is a contracted mind. It wants control. It wants everything now. It cannot wait. But a mind that tight cannot welcome anything deep or lasting. A receptive mind, on the other hand, resembles an empty bowl, open, ready, and spacious. It does not demand, it does not cling, it does not anticipate, it simply allows. Often we ask why certain things do not arrive in our lives, and the answer may be simple. We have not created room for them. We are holding on to too much. We are moving with so much tension that we cannot notice when what we want is already present. To be receptive means loosening your grip, softening the mental habit of predicting every outcome, dropping the expectation of precise results, and learning to live more in flow. You can start with awareness, observing when your thoughts repeat themselves, when they circle endlessly, when they insist that something must happen right now. In those moments, you can gently tell your mind, I do not need to know everything at this very instant. I can stay open to what comes, even if I do not yet understand it. The secret is not to push harder, but to listen more deeply, to invite silence, to allow life to unfold in its rhythm. Often when you stop holding on so tightly, what you were longing for appears in a way you never expected. Yet it had always been part of your path. Remember, what you are seeking is not always missing. Sometimes you are simply too restless to notice it. Do not look for peace. Become peace. Everyone longs for peace, yet many search for it in the wrong places, in achievements, in relationships, in external changes. Even when people claim to be looking for inner peace, they still often treat it like an object outside themselves, something to be reached, conquered, or obtained. Buddhism whispers a subtle but transformative truth. Peace is not found, it is embodied. Peace is not a destination to reach. It is a state you inhabit, a quietness you cultivate within, a way of meeting life exactly as it is, even in its most difficult moments. If you seek peace with tension, it is no longer peace you are after. It is another form of grasping, another attempt of the mind to rearrange everything so it feels safe. True peace arises when you stop trying to fix everything before you allow yourself to breathe, when you choose to accept the present moment instead of running from it. It is not an otherworldly revelation. It is something very real, very practical. It is choosing every day to respond with calm, with presence, with compassion. Sometimes peace arrives while you wash dishes slowly, while you walk quietly, while you notice your breath moving in and out. It shows up when you choose not to react to a thought, a word, or a passing emotion. Peace is not what happens when life becomes perfect. It is what you become, even when life is far from perfect. To become peace means becoming the kind of person who no longer seeks constant refuge outside, but who has learned to create a sacred space inside. From that space, everything changes. The way you see others, the way you speak to yourself, the way you move through even the hardest days. Do not wait for peace to arrive in the future, because peace is not tied to circumstances. It begins the moment you stop searching and begin to be. It is already within you, waiting for you to pause and recognize it. Emptiness is not a void. It's a living fullness. We often mistake emptiness for absence, for something missing. But true emptiness isn't the lack of something. It's a space full of potential, alive and deeply present. Many people avoid this feeling because it reminds them of loneliness, silence, or the loss of something they once clung to. So, we try to cover it, fill it, distract ourselves from it. But in Buddhism, emptiness isn't seen as something negative. It's the beginning point, the sacred ground where clarity and real inner richness emerge. When you stop holding on, when the relentless search finally pauses, you might feel like you're left with nothing. But that nothing is actually the most powerful place you can be. It's not empty. It's open, fertile, vibrant. Like freshly tilled soil, it may not yet show signs of growth, but it's ready to receive. Silence doesn't mean a lack of meaning. It means infinite possibilities. The Western mind often insists on filling every space with thought, noise, plans, emotions, but sometimes the most transformative thing you can do is let your mind rest. Allow the silence to settle, and simply listen. In that stillness, something happens. You realize you're not broken, not incomplete. You're not defined by what you own, what you do, or who validates you. You are presence. You are breath. You are spacious awareness. True emptiness doesn't strip life away. It reveals it. It's not about being without. It's about being free from the burden of always needing to have. And often, it's in that quiet space that the answers you've been chasing for years begin to speak, not with urgency or noise, but with the gentle rhythm of something true. Life starts whispering when you stop yelling. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You can begin now. Pause for 5 minutes. Stay still. Don't do or expect anything. Just be. Emptiness doesn't take away who you are. It shows you who you've been beneath all the effort and striving. You're not here to collect things or prove your worth. You're here to remember who you are when there's nothing left to chase. Life knows how to move forward, even without your control. One of the hardest things to accept is not knowing what comes next. We fear the unknown, the in-between, the space where there's no clear direction. But that space is exactly where trust begins. Buddhism teaches that life has its own wisdom, its own rhythm that doesn't need to be micromanaged. There's a current far greater than our own understanding, a flow that the mind can't grasp, but the heart can feel. Think of the most meaningful things that have happened to you, the people who changed your life, the turning points you didn't plan. If everything had been under your control, would you have even seen them coming? Probably not. When we're obsessed with controlling the outcome, we often miss the quiet miracles that arrive in their own time. The most authentic paths don't always come when we want them. They appear when we're truly ready. Trusting life doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing to stay present and open, even without certainty. It means saying, I don't know what's coming, but I'm here for it anyway. Life doesn't need your constant effort. It just needs you to stop resisting so much. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop, breathe, and say, this is enough, I trust. And in that surrender, things begin to align, not because you forced them to, but because you finally stepped out of the way and allowed life to unfold. Not everything depends on you, and that's okay. We carry so much that was never ours to hold. We feel responsible for the moods of others, the outcome of situations, the pain of the past, the unpredictability of the future. But Buddhism teaches a liberating truth. You are not in control of everything, and that's not a flaw. It's freedom. The anxious mind wants to fix, predict, prevent. But life isn't always a puzzle to be solved. Some things aren't yours to repair. Some people won't change. Emotions rise and fall like waves, and trying to control them only exhausts you further. Accepting that not everything is on your shoulders doesn't make you uncaring. It makes you real. When you stop trying to hold it all together, you finally have the clarity to act from love, not fear, from truth, not guilt. You weren't born to fix everyone or to carry everything alone. You were born to live, to learn, to love, to show up, imperfect, uncertain, and still enough. Total control is an illusion, but inner peace? That's real. And it begins the moment you choose to stop forcing and start focusing your energy where it truly matters. So when you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself, I'm doing my best, but not everything is mine to fix. That simple sentence is an act of self-kindness. It's a deep breath for your soul. Because when you stop clinging to the illusion of control, you realize that life was always moving forward, even without your effort. When you stop chasing, life finds you. There's a quiet truth at the end of all this seeking. The more desperately you search for peace, the further it seems. The tighter you grip, the more things slip through your hands. Buddhism doesn't ask you to reject life. It invites you to meet it with fresh eyes. It's about loosening your grip on rigid expectations, softening the inner tension, and realizing that maybe what you've been looking for has always lived inside you. When you stop searching outside yourself, you begin to notice what's within. When you create space for silence, you begin to truly hear. These aren't just spiritual ideas, they're a path back to yourself. They help you return to the present moment and remind you that even with your doubts and fears, you are already whole. And maybe that's the secret. Life doesn't suddenly arrive when you stop searching. It was always there. You just finally slowed down enough to see it. We often treat peace like it's hiding, tucked inside a book, a relationship, or an answer we haven't found yet. We chase certainty to avoid pain, but the more we search, the more disconnected we feel. Buddhism doesn't tell you to escape life. It teaches you to live it more fully, not from a place of needing to fix or control, but from a place of openness, presence, and trust. Because it's when you stop running, when you stop needing to find something outside yourself, that something deep inside begins to awaken. And it's not that life suddenly appears, it's that you finally become present enough to receive it. Maybe right now you feel stuck or in the middle of a difficult moment. Maybe nothing feels clear yet. But here's something you need to hear. You are not broken. You don't need fixing. You only need to remember. Remember that peace isn't something you earn. It's something you uncover. That wisdom isn't knowing everything, it's making peace with what you can't know. That love isn't something you chase. It's something that meets you when you stop chasing. This message is an invitation to let go of the exhausting need to control and to live fully, here, now, in all the imperfect beauty of your life. And if something in these words made you breathe a little deeper, hold on to it. Even just a word, a thought, a feeling, share it. Someone else might need to see that light. Someone might read what you leave behind and feel less alone. Life continues to move, even when you pause, and it hasn't forgotten you. Not for a moment.